Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. I would like to start by introducing myself. I'm Sabrina Baptiste. I'm the project manager for Pathways Alliance. And joining us today are some wonderful folks. This is a co-branded Bright Spots webinar. We are highlighting some of the best teacher residency programs and apprenticeship programs in our Bright Spot series. And our first webinar is in collaboration with Prepare to Teach. And we are very excited to talk about New Mexico's commitment to a unified teacher preparation ecosystem. So I'd first like to introduce some of our panelists today. We have Reed Wessel, Marjorie Krebs, Michael Weinberg. Unfortunately, Winter Flack is a little bit under the weather, so we wish her all the best, spirit fingers. And Karen DeMoss, who's the executive director of Prepare to Teach. So we are very excited to kick you off with some amazing information about New Mexico today. We hope to share some wonderful resources at the end, and we hope that you all have come with open ears and open minds. And thank you all for joining us this afternoon. So I'm going to pass it off to Reed, who will kick us off this afternoon.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Reed Wessels. I'm the residency coordinator for the public education department. I've been in this role for approximately a year and a half. And prior to being in that role, I served as 18 years in New Mexico as a public education teacher, school administrator, and instructional coach. And I'm really excited to share the preparation ecosystem as it pertains to New Mexico's journey with residencies. And thank you again for that. And so the New Mexico journey, it is outlined in 5 years, and certainly this is a culmination of the 5-year span of New Mexico journey related to residencies, but by no means is it a complete picture of everything that has been done connected to this work. And so the residency pilot work, it really starts with the Martinez-Yazzie consolidated lawsuit in New Mexico. And so basically, that lawsuit had described the need for New Mexico to really improve educational practices, particularly identified within this framework was Native American students, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged students, and English learners. And so this really, as a response to this ruling, the New Mexico Public Education Department and a collaborative effort really worked on a comprehensive plan. And so this included 4 strategic pillars. And one of these pillars was to promote a vibrant educator ecosystem. And so traditionally, New Mexico, like many states, has really struggled to recruit and retain highly qualified and well-prepared educators. In a 2018 report, the Legislative Education Study Committee, which is a bipartisan committee of the New Mexico legislature, they really highlighted interventions and high-performing systems which were necessary to address these challenges. The report really referenced specifically teacher residency as at the time an innovative pilot and a grow your own strategy to really address this. And so in particular, the University of New Mexico in 2018 implemented a co-teaching and teacher residency model pilot, which was really designed to effectively prepare pre-service teachers. One key component was really establishing a strong partnership with the Albuquerque Public Schools, which was the largest school district in the state. And so really, this included a significant stipend of $20,000 for a full school year co-teaching experience within the residents that were in this. And it was significantly successful, and I'm sure Dr. Krebs could speak to this. And so as a result of this, there was an understanding of some financial barriers. Although $20,000 was substantial, there was a need for a significant additional funding to support residencies in their co-teaching year-long residency experience. And so in 2022, the New Mexico State Legislature passed landmark legislation to support and to expand teacher residencies in New Mexico through the Teacher Residency Act. And so this included a full academic year of rigorous department-approved teacher preparation through a residency, And for the first time legislatively in New Mexico, it included substantive financial supports. This included a $50,000 stipend for on-site teacher residency coordinators at each university with approved teacher residencies, a $35,000 stipend for each teacher resident, and $2,000 stipends for mentor teachers and for supporting administrators. And so this allowed a substantive funding to fully fund teacher residency in New Mexico. As a result of this, in 2023, we had 8 institutions of higher education in New Mexico that received funding as a direct result of House bill of this teacher residency legislation. The New Mexico Public Education Department worked really closely with Prepared to Teach and collaboratively with these institutions through 4 communities of practice convenings. And this was really to co-create quality standards with the goal of supporting program consistency. And so these quality standards included residency designs that really met the Public Education Department of New Mexico's standards for quality. This included things like residents working alongside a strong mentor teacher, as defined in that statute, residents not being teachers of record during their placements, that they were calendared to begin and end with the local district calendars within the schools as part of those predictable placements. And then the co-creation of a residency recruitment plan, which really discussed longer-term development of teacher workforce that really reflected and connected back to the diversity of the students being served, including Indigenous affiliation, race, ethnicity, language, and exceptionalities connected back to the Martinez-Yazzie lawsuit, which I had mentioned in 2018. And so that brings us up to 2024, which is one of the most exciting components of this work. In 2024, we were granted and awarded a 5-year, $8 million mid-phase EIR grant through the U.S. Department of Education to support this work. This was submitted in collaboration with our partners at Prepared to Teach, and this really built on the residency and the community of practice work that we worked on in 2023. And so there's basically 3 project goals and evaluation, or project goals that are related to this. The strengthen recruitment and the selection process of our teacher preparation programs in terms of residency to really reduce the variability and look at implementation across the different residency programs to ensure candidates are getting the strongest well-prepared teachers and equitable access to those programs. And then lastly, to really look at sustainability and creating sustainable funding streams and competitive wages so paid residencies can grow and that they can become the norm in New Mexico. And so that really is an outline of what the federal EIR grant is all about. And so I mentioned, Prepared to Teach as being a vital intermediary in New Mexico. And essentially what they've done is help to support to bring people to the table for collaboration. The organizations that I mentioned, the institutions of higher education, to really look at building capacity and supporting the capacity for teacher residency, including support with the federal EIR grant work and submission, and then just supporting the policy components and the policy work that is ongoing as we support teacher residency and grow it. And then just really helping to bring together and to diffuse good ideas from other places and realizing that there's lots of great things going on throughout the country related to this work and bringing those good ideas from other places into the framework of New Mexico. And so this is a Padlet map which shows where all the residents are located and the partnering schools. And so you can see it's diverse throughout New Mexico. It's in urban areas, Albuquerque, which is a large metropolitan area, but also in the surrounding areas are Indigenous communities. We often refer to Four Corners of New Mexico, and you can see there's diverse representation in all areas of New Mexico. And all of these groups are engaged together in a community of practice to continue to support this work. And so lastly, I'd like to share out with you a video, Education is Calling video, which is really the story of residency told from the residents themselves and the people that are actually doing the work. The video is approximately 6 minutes long. It's really so hard for us to cut because there's so many exciting components to it. But I just did want to share that it is approximately 6 minutes long. And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over so we can view this video.
I just knew that teaching was something that I was born for.
It's a common thought in a lot of teachers. Try to make a change. Try and have some impact.
We have a lot of students that cross the border every day to come to school. I know what they've been through. I was raised in Mexico and I was born here in the United States. I decided I want to be a teacher because I want to make an impact in the students.
New Mexico has a high need of teachers. You call any district and they need teachers.
The residency program's probably one of the most important decisions and investments the legislature has made. If we don't have high quality, skilled teachers to teach the programs, we're not going to be able to meet student needs. Our schools are only as successful as the quality of our teachers.
If we're looking at teacher candidates to hire, are we going to take a teacher candidate who's only been in the field for a half a semester, or someone who has been under the supervision of a lead teacher for an entire school year?
In the traditional student teaching, I've heard from a lot of teachers say, I'm not prepared for this. I never learned how to work with students with special needs. I don't know what I'm doing. Through the teacher in residency program, they're going to have worked with every kind of kid that you're going to find in a classroom because they've had that experience. People that go into education will know what they're getting into and be equipped.
Education is taking a hit. If we can use those residency programs to add to our educational family, that's what we want to do.
With the residence program, it's a co-teaching model. It's like having 2 full-time teachers in the room all the time.
When I student taught, it was 1 semester. We started in August, and by September, my mentor teacher was out of the building. I was by myself for 2 months.
This program gives you more of an opportunity than a single semester worth of student teaching could. You get to see the classroom from beginning to end, and you see how the kids shape throughout the year.
What the residency does is take a class of 30 students, and you're changing the teacher-to-student ratio from 1 to 30 to 1 to 15. The impact on those individual students' learning is magnified.
We are data-driven in a lot of ways, so when you look at the scores, the kids are off the charts. Some of them came in barely knowing how to write their name. The whole classroom, they're all reading now. They're all reading, they're all writing sentences. It's been amazing. It's been amazing.
We need that in New Mexico. Our kids need that.
Hi, everybody. I think that was a quick end to the video, but we would encourage you to visit the New Mexico Public Education Department website and view the whole video. We're really excited about what we're able to share with our work here in New Mexico. So I would like to talk about our University of New Mexico District Teacher Residency Partnership. We have partnerships with 11 different districts and charter schools and currently 75 teacher residents. And as Reed explained, our residents do a full year of clinical preparation. And that full year in the fall is 4 days per week so that they're available on Mondays for their coursework. They also take coursework online and in the evenings because they're still completing their final year of teacher preparation methodology. They have a co-teacher. We like to place our residents in Title I schools and especially community schools. That is a focus in New Mexico. When we're working with different districts, such as Albuquerque Public Schools, our seminars focus on how to teach in those districts. The residents earn a stipend. The residents have an instructor and a supervisor who visits them once a month minimum and meets with the co-teachers as well to help them in that co-teaching dyad. We have all ATRP professional development sessions in the evenings quarterly, and those sessions support themes that the district is trying to make sure teachers are aware of in their districts. Our Albuquerque teacher residency focuses on restorative practices this year, and so those are the focuses of our all ATRP programs. They complete their licensure in 1 year. Either they're undergrads in their final year or they're graduate certificate students completing licensure in 1 year. they are guaranteed a job in their residency school or district, which is a great boost for our students to know that they are going to have a placement in their district or charter school. And then they, in turn, agree to teach in that district or charter school for 3 years. So on the next slide, you can see all the different districts where our students are placed. And you can see some districts are small and only have one resident. Albuquerque Public Schools has up to 43, but this reflects that map that Reed was showing you. The difference that a teacher residency makes is summarized on this slide. First of all, the importance of a strong partnership with a district and a university with that year-long clinical experience with an expert mentor teacher. The resident becomes a full part of the school community because they know they're going to be teaching in that district the next year. So they have such a great buy-in to the program, and they are placed in carefully selected schools that the districts want their teachers to learn how to teach in. The residents, co-teachers, and principals receive a stipend. The co-teachers and principals receive a $2,000 stipend. And as I mentioned, the districts provide an expectation to be hired, and then the residents work for 3 years. So in looking at the different program elements, just a quick comparison. I'll select a few of these. In a traditional program, our university would select our student teachers. But in our residency, these residents are co-selected with the districts or charter schools and university faculty. We work together for the field placements. Seminars are focused on district policies and procedures. The students have that greater buy-in. As you can see under the residency, they already have a school ID, a school email, access to technology. Certainly the funding makes a difference, as does that expectation to be hired. And then the retention is what really helps our residents stay in those places and connect to their schools in a different way than our traditional student teachers. They know they're going to be there. And when they struggle as teachers, they know they've agreed to be there for 3 years. And that really helps our retention rate. In the chat, I will share a link of our program evaluation of the Albuquerque teacher residency that was conducted by the National Center for Teacher Residencies, if you'd like to take a closer look at our complete program. So thank you. And I guess there's one more slide. I was trying to rush through a little too quickly. I will focus on the co-teaching aspect of this, and that is that there's the support of 2 people in a classroom, as was mentioned in the video, really has an impact on student achievement. It's a purposeful use of 2 trained adults working with students, not a teacher and a helper, but true student support that divides the student-teacher ratio in half. And when co-planning and co-teaching occur, then there is a dramatic impact on student achievement.
Thank you so much, Marjorie. Marjorie could teach us all forever. So thank you for working so much great information in. I'm not Winter Flack. I'm Karen DeMoss. Winter this morning found out that she's going to have to be down for a while and couldn't talk. So here I am. I've got her notes, though. She is known across the New Mexico teacher residency work as somebody who really figured out how to make recruitment locally work. So next slide, Sabrina. This is Prepared to Teach's kind of conceptualization of the sorts of things that we learned from the efforts that she led at CNM, which is Central New Mexico College. That is a community college that has a post-baccalaureate certificate only teacher preparation program. And their special education program for what was a fast track program, they were wanting to move into a teacher residency model as part of this effort at the state. So Winter is the person who did the recruitment. And in that recruitment, the first concept that she really embraced was sort of grow your own plus, you might say, a really broad reach across the entire ecosystem of what the program had designed as a feeder system, where they'd have an elementary, a middle, and a high school inside the highest needs areas. And they would work with the superintendents and principals in those areas to figure out how to not just get special education teachers, but special education teachers who in this context were also serving students who were English learners. So folks who were bilingual would be super helpful. So in her broad reach work, what she did is connected with tons of groups that were active in the community already. So not only the district folks, but other groups active in the community, and gave them the flyers, of course, in multiple languages. And those flyers went out to those large groups advertising the ways they could learn about the program. Second point that she wanted to share is high touch. Folks who might be good candidates that the principal already knew, or the counselors knew, or the folks in the community center already knew who might be good teachers, literally go and talk to them directly and say, hey, this is something that we'd love you to consider. And if they said no, say, well, who else might be? So literally a high touch on the ground recruitment effort. Third piece is always leading with importance. So for example, this is one of the things that she would say. Do you know that our school district is 20% Native American, but only has 1% Native American teachers? Do you have someone that you look up to in school who could relate with that issue of needing Native American teachers? So really making it very specific and important that this recruitment effort isn't just about anyone. It's about really addressing things that the community needed. And then finally, helping people always understand how they would fit into addressing these issues. So when doing a PowerPoint, for example, one slide on the information, the next slide on, and if you do this, this is how you can have an impact. So really always bringing back and forth this question of here's what the thing is and here's where you fit. So those were her 4 points. So thank you, Winter, for having written those out for me. And that had a huge impact. So this particular chart has slight oddities because the time of 2022 and 2023 isn't all January, but across the 2022 and 2023 periods, in the 2022 period, they had no applicants as of January 2022. And in this particular program, they already had the funding. So they had 100% full $50,000 salary. I think it might have been $40,000 plus benefits. 0 applicants as of January of 2022 for the prior program prior to this recruitment effort. In 2023, 29 applicants. They also represented the community. You can see the differences. They also had many more people who already had special needs student experiences. Percent with bilingual skills doubled, and the percent who really wanted to be in those communities, a great increase in those percentages. So it's to say that this kind of high touch work can really work. And it was well beyond the current conception of grow your own as only district or your high school kids. So just wanted to share that idea that Winter has really helped the entire network here in New Mexico get clear on. And then I'm also going to tell you that Michael Weinberg, who is our program officer at the Thornburg Foundation, you can go to the next slide. He
Hi, my name is Michael Weinberg.
Sorry about that. I shouldn't have told you to go to the next slide, Sabrina. Michael got caught on a plane, but he had done, knowing that he was going to have to be traveling at a kind of a late moment, he did a recording for us. So you'll hear a little bit of some reinforcement of some of the things you've heard in particular from Reed. So now we can just play that and let Michael go.
Hi, my name is Michael Weinberg. I'm a senior policy officer with the Thornburg Foundation based in Santa Fe. And if you're watching this video, it means my flight was delayed and we're going to plan B. So hopefully this will work out, and I appreciate the accommodation. What I'll go through in the next few slides is how in New Mexico we are supporting systemic change. Really, our goal is to make residencies the way we prepare educators across the state. We are excited that we were recently awarded an Education Innovation and Research Program grant. It's a mid-phase federal grant. Thinking back to the timeline that Reed presented, we've done quite a bit, and this will help us get to what we see as the next stage in the work. The first goal is to create incentives for increasing diversity, particularly in high priority areas. That includes specific subjects as well as hard to staff communities, geographies around the state. Second goal has to do with reducing variability in the co-teaching model. Marjorie talked quite a bit about what co-teaching looks like in the Albuquerque District Residency Partnership, and we'd like to see that type of consistency across the state. And then the final goal has to do with sustainably funding residencies. That includes registered apprenticeships through New Mexico's Workforce Solutions Department. It also has to do with, within our budget, whether we consider these appropriations what we call below the line or above the line. And that has to do with the recurring nature of the funding. So through this project, we are building the case for the effectiveness of these residencies. There is a evaluation component that's built in, and that data will go to support this ongoing attempt to make that funding sustainable.
Michael really has beautiful perspectives. He has, they do, as you can see from his title, they do policy work in the state of New Mexico specifically. And so they were very involved in New Mexico, supporting New Mexico's development of a comprehensive early childhood system. And now they're very involved in supporting the development of a comprehensive teacher education system. So actually, that's also spreading to principal preparation. You would have heard him say that you did hear him say we want that all educators to come through these kinds of programs. So the principal preparation is now going to shift towards residencies also. So the other pieces in his presentation linked back to what Reed had suggested was it is an important piece in New Mexico, which is the Martinez-Yancy lawsuit as an equity issue. And preparation itself is part of that equity issue. Turnover harms students. Novice teachers just aren't as strong. There's some great LPI research on that, and high concentrations of turnover in schools where we know they're concentrated really robs students of learning opportunities year over year. Teacher of record models, we understand that people need somebody in the classroom, but they also happen to drive turnover. So high proportions of our early career turnover are folks who are coming through teacher of record models. So it's not good for anybody, including the teachers that want to be teachers that don't have the preparation they deserve. And it costs billions across the country. $10,000 to $20,000 per teacher, and that's not inflation adjusted. We all know what inflation is like, so it's a pretty big cost to the state to not have well-prepared teachers. Those graphs come from analyses in New York City around what they didn't show on this version of PowerPoint, but the first 24% is the sort of external teacher of record model, like a Teach for America or somebody else coming in to do it as a fast track program. Second one is internal fast track. So like, okay, let's Albuquerque, let's do our own fast track because then we know who they are. We know they want to be here. So it's better. The next is traditional student teaching, which has a much better retention rate, but those people don't always come into teaching in those programs in universities, wanting to be in the places where the positions are or reflecting the people in those places. So it doesn't give you the match that you need. But the district matched residency program, it really does give you retention. And as the Albuquerque Teacher Residency Partnership evaluation showed, these are the kinds of things. Actually, it's the next slide, I think Michael said, if you'll click the next slide, Sabrina. These kinds of outcomes generally about 90% remaining in the same school in third year, 80% remaining in the district in 5 years, twice as likely to come from diverse backgrounds. Those are sort of rough averages about what you find on the individual evaluations of these residency programs. And it's bearing out in New Mexico also. So this is why it's a really good solution to equity issues. Next slide. These are some pieces that I believe we're going to chat you the links on these, in addition to having the QR codes up here. Co-constructed program consistency is a goal so that you can have an ecosystem that is a single ecosystem. So a candidate who's going to place A has the same quality experience as a candidate in place B, and somebody who's a novice teacher being hired in District A is as well prepared as somebody who's being hired as a novice in District B. So one of the pieces is that they co-construct a shared residency definition. That first link that you're getting is a link around the towards the national definition of teacher residencies, which I should see Sabrina smiling on, Zach smiling on, though he's a picture right now. We did that work in collaboration with National Center for Teacher Residencies and a large work group, and then a large national feedback set of input. This is a really great document. If you're starting out, this document has been vetted in many, many kinds of places, and it's a very good start with 4 kinds of domains of what a strong residency should look like, and then lots of bullet points about, again, work towards these kinds of features. Co-teaching guidance for that co-teaching piece. This is a document that I Prepared to Teach worked on with the St. Cloud State co-teaching work, and that gives you a good sense of why co-teaching is a good approach. And then the New Mexico residency guidance is what PED, so back to Reed, what PED constructed with the community of practice to say, this is what the expectations are if your candidates are going to be in a program that's going to be getting funding. Then one more piece in terms of this ecosystem, the next slide, Sabrina, is the question of the candidate's financial burden. This sustainability piece that Michael was talking about, but we can't hear him say it. The chart shows you that clinical practice that's unpaid really, really does drive debt. This is some original research from Prepared to Teach across 7 states, 14 institutions, about 1,400 candidates responded, including candidates at UNM, which Marjorie used to help the legislature understand candidate financial burdens really matter, right? They're a big part of understanding what we need to do. At the undergraduate level, across that sample, 39% of the undergraduate debt level, which was about 32,000, came from clinical practice. At the grad level, total debt 60,000, and about half of that is coming from the clinical practice semester. There is a QR code there and a link, I believe, might be. Yeah, we've had a lot of requests to relaunch that survey. And so if you are interested, there's no commitment, but if you're interested in finding out about how to do that survey in your state, some states are going to be doing it, or across your partnership, or just within your programs, or in your district, for all of the different folks who are coming through clinical practice, let us know. We will make it a very affordable effort to be able to be part of that and get your own data back. So you can connect with Les later on that. And I think that might be all of Michael's. Yes. Now, my apologies. You got to listen to me some more. I'm going to talk a little bit about getting there from here. So next slide. For us, we're really trying to create a third space for teacher preparation. Marjorie created a fabulous pilot. Many other people probably on this call have fabulous pilots. And those pilots really very often, almost always, meet these needs, these definitional pieces of a teacher residency. And that means that what you've got is this partnership working together. And so, Sabrina, if you'll go to the next click, you've got the districts coming in this partnership, and you're figuring out ways to really integrate that candidate in the school, like Marjorie was talking about. They have their own ID cards, and they're seen as part of the staff. The welcoming school community, where they feel like they belong in this place, and this mentor development and support, districts do a lot of that already. So all of these pieces, the districts and schools are bringing in. And then if you'll click again, the programs themselves are also bringing in pieces. They're shifting up some recruitment so that they're tailoring recruitment to meet those needs, as you saw with the work that Winter did. The professional learning that they're providing, like through, for example, the co-teaching workshops that UNM and others across the state do. And then the curriculum that is aligned with the school goals, which you heard Marjorie also talk about. One more click on this one, Sabrina. those things all together really are sort of centered around building this shared commitment and vision, creating sustainable collaboration and communication structures, and supporting residents with sustainable resources. None of this can happen if the residents are being asked to work for free, because they'll sort of be pulling their hair out and working extra jobs. So the next slide is, we got all of these wonderful pilots, and the question then becomes, how do we go from these innovators and early adopters and fill what has been identified in Ev Rogers' diffusion of innovation theory, this chasm between those folks that like figured out how to do the pilots? How do you get this into more of the system level work, which of course is what New Mexico has figured out? Click that again, Sabrina, and we fill in that gap. And we fill in that gap with a community of practice. So you heard Reed talk about the community of practice that was started, that created the guidance for what the residency looks like, which is what the EIR grant was built upon, is what the community of practice did. That builds that bridge across a diffusion of innovation curve. So we have 2 community colleges. We've got the state R1s. We've got regional institutions that all have their own needs and are serving a really big state with a really diverse population in really sometimes geographically isolated even areas. And they were all coming together and figuring out, what does this look like for the state? So this sort of shared goal in that community of practice, we are finding really is building that bridge and that chasm. So Sabrina, if you click the next one, and you can kind of go through, I'm not sure if this one goes automatically or not, but if you take these individual pilots and you sort of bring those individual pilots, those individual programs and partnerships together, and click that again, then what you get is this ecosystem more at the state level, where the state says, gosh, this is good stuff. We need to figure out how to fund it. We're getting consistent and quality instruction across this, increasingly sort of reducing the variability across programs. We also are building inside this system, we're not talking about it very specifically today, an integrated and cohesive data collection approach, which nicely actually reduces the collection burden on everyone, which is a really big problem. Gather more data so we can prove more things, but we're all spending our time gathering the data. This is actually trying to integrate and streamline the data processes. And of course, continuing the community of practice, because that thing really seems to work. We'll let you know if it ever stops, but in the meantime, it's working, so we're continuing it. I think that could be it. So in terms of the kinds of things that we've learned from New Mexico and other partnerships of ours across the country, just yesterday we had a webinar. Maybe a couple of the folks in the room were able to attend that one. But we have a webinar series that is happening. It's all free. At the end of this, we're going to be creating some more communities of practice. Hopefully, we hope it's some state levels. So if you've got some folks who are interested in sort of learning, how have people done some of these things? What are the principles, LES, that you might need? And maybe sometimes who are the principles, PALS, that you might need? Then please feel free to sign up. I believe, you've got a sign up chat there, or you can click the QR code. And that will let you see what those other Foundations to Futures webinar series pieces are. And of course, also stay tuned to Pathways Alliance for other bright spots. And I think at that point, we might be done. Team presenters, any additional fill-ins that you want to share before we see whether there might be some questions?
Well, we'd like to thank everybody for presenting today. At this time, we'd like to open up the Q&A session. If anyone has any questions for our panelists, please feel free to put them in the chat. We're happy to go through them. And they are also happy to answer individually as well. So we'll leave the floor open for a few minutes for questions.
And as long as we're doing thank you, Deborah. That's sweet. I'm glad it was helpful. But I also want to thank Zach Paul, who on our team is support magnificence of making sure that we're all together when we're all in different places, at least to the extent that our plane landed and we were able to get together. Thanks, Zach.
Always a pleasure.
We will also include all of the resource links along with the recording of this webinar. It will be sent to everyone on this call, just in case if you would like to share it, or if anyone was not able to make it today.
I guess one thing I'd like to add to the people attending today, and thank you so much for taking your time to be here. I share that at UNM, we currently have 75 teacher residents. We did not start with 75 teacher residents. Our first class of residents was with 17 elementary and secondary residents in one district. Now we've been able to grow to all of our licensure areas across our college, including art and music, and to our 11 district and charter school partners. So it's a great way to start, just with one district partner and a couple of licensure programs to get this started. And our funding originally came from our district. It wasn't even state funding when we started. So starting small really can work.
Thanks, Marjorie. Zach, can you find the links? We didn't pre-prep these, so it may take a second, for the Simple Shifts and Residency Revolution and what else am I looking for? Affordability Imperative. So the Albuquerque Public Schools was, to our knowledge, the first district in the country that really embraced the idea that this is just important for kids. And we had been working with them on, what bringing some dollars to candidates might look like. And they did that. And then UNM and Marjorie, they made that work just shine. These 3 reports, if Zach can find them and give them to you in the chat, or you can go to our website and find them. Those 3 reports report on these principles of how you can find some money through roles, how districts can find some money through many different approaches, and also how institutions can reduce the actual cost burden to candidates. So those are 3 different ways to start to bring some money to your candidates, even if you don't have the state investment. And then when you have these strong programs and you have the evidence that your candidates need money, it's a lot easier to make that state bid. And we find also that if you have a collection of people coming together, so not like just one program making this bid, but many programs coming together and many districts coming together, then it doesn't feel like specialized funding. It feels like something for the whole system.
There you go.
Thank you, Zach.
If any of our panelists would like to drop their contact information in the chat as well, I think that would be a great resource if people would like to connect or reach out.
That was a good idea. Thank you.
All of the links that were shared with everyone today will be included along with the recording of this webinar to be shared. And again, you now have the contact information of our wonderful panelists if you have any direct questions for them, or would love to find out more about the great work that they're doing in New Mexico. And that wraps up our webinar today. We'd like to thank everyone for joining. We hope to see you soon. And we hope that you stop by preparetoteach.org as well as the Pathways Alliance.org for any future webinars, events, or resources. And we look forward to connecting with all of you soon. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good one.